Okay. So let's start with the earlier thing, which is the topic, the ongoing war between the USA and Israel and Iran. To begin with, I'd like to explain the Jupiter cycle of the 84 years. Every 84 years, normally the Jupiter is moving at a certain speed, which is about 4 arc minutes per day. But during specific timeline, during the period of let's say 8 years, in every 84 years, the Jupiter speeds up. And whenever the Jupiter has increased speed in the solar system, certain events have happened in the past. In general, it is said that the Jupiter, which is the most benefic planet, takes away its blessings from the people and the solar system, and it is the time frame of the war and all kind of things. If you're looking at it previously, when the Jupiter has went Atichari, the first time it went, when we have the data, it is the 1858 to 64. That is when the American Civil War happened for the first time. The Mughal Emperor in India and everywhere else, it declined rapidly, and there was a big genocide. A lot of people were killed here and there. Second time, the Jupiter went Atichari for the 8 year was in 1942 to 1950. That was when the World War happened and a lot of countries got independence and whatnot. But again, a lot of death happened during this timeline. Last time the Jupiter went Atichari was for a very brief moment for a period of only 2 or 3 years. Generally, it is the 8 year cycle, but for due to certain solar movement, it only went for 2 or 3 years. That was in 2019 to 21. That's when the COVID happened for all of us. Moving on now, the Jupiter just went Atichari again in the just the last year, which is in 2025, and we have just entered the cycle of 8 years, which will eventually increase the fight and everything in the world, leading up to the 2033. So this is just the year one, and as we know, a lot of things have happened so far. What the interesting thing is that so far in the history, there has been never happened that after this cycle ends, which is the period of 84 years in 2033, the next cycle of 84 years will start. But unfortunately, it is starting from 2034 to, sorry, 35 to 44. So generally between there are two 84-year periods. But what is going on is that just after one period is ending, the another period is starting right away, which has never happened in before. So this could also mean that the big world war happens or something, and then we are going to second Atichari cycle again with only 2 year of gap, and then something else goes on and on. So the upcoming time period is not that good. So any questions in this part by anyone?
How do we actually check Jupiter has gone Atyachari or not?
So it's based on the certain solar movements and calculation. You can even check on the NASA website and so on, but it is generally pre-decided timeline based on the astrological data that we have. The certain years, the Jupiter will be at Atichari. It's like the transit of planets in different signs. We already know which years it will go at Atichari, which it won't vary the Saturn right now, so on, so on, so on.
Okay.
Any other question? Okay. So moving on, this is the Prashna Kundi I have made during the time when on obviously as you all know, the 20th February, approximately 27 a.m. in the Iran, the Epicen Operation Aquatic Fury started. Now, do you notice anything funny in this name here? Read about a month or two ago, we had just certain leak of the Epstein files. So I believe that the person whoever made this intentionally used the EPI here, so that whenever someone would send to Google or something, it would not show up as Epstein file, but rather as the Epic Fury, and the other thing would be hidden and so on. So I feel the name is intentional here. But anyway, so moving on, this is the chart when the exactly when the bombs fell on the Iran. Would you like to explain this Prashna chart, Monin?
Sure. If we see the Prashna chart has Aries rising, which has the Lord Mars, and he is in Aquarius with Rahu and three other planets. So, if we see the nature of the attack is very up straightforward by US, and he thinks US thinks that he is gonna gain a lot, but it's not so, and also it's going to get worse because if we see Rahu Mercury combination also has fifth lord conjoined, so overall public or the geopolitical scenario is going to get affected all the trades, all the stock markets, if we see, are gonna get bearish because Aquarius rules bearish market and Capricorn rules bullish market. And so the combination here is happening in Aquarius. So if you look at any market in any economy, be it Japan, Korea, India, US, all are having a bearish trend, and it's only going to get worse for a couple of months ahead in time. This thing is going to affect uh, very in a negative manner, and it will trickle up to 2030 and so on.
So any other things where, because we have the Rahu in the Aquarius, which is his own sign, and again with the Mars, which is the Lord. So what could it also indicate? Any other things, Monil?
Uh, Iran would surely control the oil flow to the oil trade to the different countries, and it is going to affect the generic public also.
Hmm. Okay. So moving on, because in the same thing what he just said, that Aries Lagna, very aggressive sign, very impulsive, and obviously ego driven. So now here ego is coming from the Donald Trump, obviously, because recently as we all know, he recently kidnapped the president of the Venezuela, and he had a very easy time doing that. So he could be that he had an ego stroke and he's riding in the high movement, and he thought that okay, I can go into Iran and do all of this easily. But now what's going on is the illusion is being made here that the things will be easy than they actually are. Moving on, when we say these are the basically where the missile strikes happened in the past few days in the Iran, and again the same thing with the Mars in the fourth house, that they're thinking that they'll have the gains and whatnot. And obviously the leader, the supreme leader of the Iran, was killed along with his family and bunch of other people. I'll come to that in a bit, but this is just what happened with the sixth house, that the general things that have happened so far, as you mentioned regarding the sixth house. Similarly, the second house affliction is also there. In the Mudan Jyotish, the second house governs the national wealth, trade, economic stability, and so on. And whenever the second house is afflicted, it means that whatever is the benefit, you will have to pay a lot of money for the same. And the effects are there in the all of the things in the all. It could be natural gas, the futures, and all of those things are down already. It's just the light oil, crude oil futures, which are super high and probably will increase in the upcoming weeks. As we move on, if you see the Iran Foundation chart, it has the Cancer Lagna, Jupiter exalted, and the Rahu and the Saturn are in the second house, while the Sun, Mercury, and Mars are in the ninth house. If we see that the currently the Saturn is transitioning the Pisces sign, and approximately if we take the degrees, it is almost near the Sun of his natal chart. So the Saturn is transiting over the natal sun. It could indicate that there will be the death of a lot of people in the power in the government, and obviously this is Iran's chart. So that of the people who are running the government could happen, and that's actually what happened recently, where the a lot of people, including uh, the supreme leader and the family, and a lot of other people were killed through the Saturn transition that is happening. Another thing, if you notice, is the Ketu is in the second house right now, and the Rahu will be in the eighth house. So that whole initial, which is the placement, which is Rahu Ketu 27 32 8, it is reversed as of now. So it could indicate that there will be a lot of more bloodshed, there will be economic collapse, and so on, till that Dasha is running on. And it's also images of the leader being killed and whatnot. But initially, what they thought, the US might have thought that we killed the leader, the opposition collapses, just like Venezuela. And then a lot of people, they are oppressed under Iran. At least that's what the propaganda is going on for. And there were a lot of recent videos of all the women celebrating that they are happy that the leader is killed and whatnot. One moment. Yeah. So a lot of propaganda on Instagram and wherever you see that people are very happy that the Iran leader has been killed. But on the other hand, if you see the Muslims which are living there, they are highly angry because their leader is killed and they want to fight back and sacrifice themselves and whatnot. So this is just the first year of the Jupiter, the Chari, as we have talked earlier. Now we are looking at the other thing, which is Israel's. Now the Israel is in the currently the Virgo sign, and Rahu is in the eighth house of Israel. Uh, Mone, would you like to talk about what the Rahu can do in the eighth house?
Hello. So Rahu in the eighth house can can show sudden uphill, forced transformation, hidden enemy secrets, death and rebirth, and completely restructuring of how the system functions.
Hmm. And more so, it is in the Bharini Nakshatra, which is ruled by Yama. So, what could that mean?
A lot of death would occur, and overall, it's a
So,
18 period.
time period cycle, yes.
Yes,
And
every
other thing
enemy
is that,
kills.
yeah, sorry, go on.
Yes. No, no, you take over.
Yeah. So the more so the age that just started is the Rahu Mahadasha. Depending on the again the chart you are taking, either just started in 2023 if you are taking a little bit different calculation. If you are taking the normal calculation, then it is just started in 2025. So if I'm taking the 2025, which makes a little bit more sense, then we are using this one. It would mean that they have just the big Rahu is, as you all know, very intensive planet and very, you can say, it does not think that much. It is just very impulsive, do whatever it wants. So it could be just this starting period where a lot of wars and things can go on in the Middle East. Obviously, a very illusion based that they have this plan to get the greater Israel plan and whatnot. And obviously, the first 60 days, a lot of things have been going on here, which I mentioned. Moving on, the thing is about the 2029-30 is that a lot of eclipses are coming out. If you read in the Varahini Briya Samhita, which was written about 1500 years ago, which mentions about the different impacts of the eclipse that could be there on the like the crops and water and war. They are mentioned in the Brihat Samhita. You can read it later. But the trigger point was obviously the February 2026 solar eclipse, because one thing that the solar eclipse was, both of them was falling under Aquarius sign of both Iran and Afghanistan, and both of them they are having the Afghanistan just started the war again with Pakistan. They are attacking them, as we know. Recent news just came out, and obviously Iran we have just discussed. So what another thing is happening is that in the year of 2031, there are five solar eclipses happening in the same year, and it will fall one lunar, one solar will fall in the Taurus ascendant, which is in the India's foundation chart, and it could bring significant changes to Indian economy, social structure, and obviously not a destructive one, but more of a reset kind of thing. The main thing that is happening, the biggest event of this century will be the seven eclipse in 1 year, which is happening in the 2038 and again in the 2094, but we won't be probably there by that time. So 2038 will be the very big one. And seven eclipse have only occurred last time was 1982. So 2038 will have three solar, four lunar eclipse. And again, it is directly on the China's foundation chart, which has the ascendant of Capricorn. So it could indicate the same thing where there could be uprising in China and whatnot. But both of this time period and the earlier time period, all of these are falling under the Jupiter Atichari cycle. And another thing that is going on at the moment is that the Saturn is transiting Pisces. Historically, every single time the Saturn has been in Pisces sign, the previous empire has had a fall, and then the new emperor empire has started to rise in there. If you're looking in, let's say, for example, 1935, 38, so on, so on, the Britain was the leading power back then, but then it had a downfall. If you're looking at 1946, and so on, so on, United States started winning after the World War II was over and all. It started the moon landing and all of those things. If you look in 1994 to 1996, China began rising through the economic reforms and became the manufacturing powerhouse of the world. And now people are predicting, and obviously with the certain astrological things, that now is the time that the India rising will happen. Uh, Going on, the United States, if you're checking the chart, United States in the same thing, the Leo ascendant. Some people use the Virgo. I'm using the Leo here. Uh, Basically, they are currently in the 12th house dasha. The Jupiter move into the 12th house soon. It will increase the expenditure and whatnot. For people who know the US politics, they will be having the midterm election very soon. So here the thing is that if you're looking at a Donald Trump chart, I don't have it right now, but he will be running the, I believe, the Rahu Antardasha by next year or by 2027. So the thing is that the US president, if he wants to go for the third term, generally it is not allowed, let's say. But if the war is going on or something, that the president can have certain form of the emergency powers. So it could be the idea that the Donald Trump might just keep on going the war in Iran and he goes on to election and then he can use the veto power or some emergency act to stay as the president for a much longer time after the midterms and whatnot. And just the more metrics here. So again, the mass is the 11. The other thing is that because, as you mentioned earlier, that can be the illusion of victory. So if you look at the Iran primary targets or the weapons, they are known as the Sahid drone missile, which look like something like this. And they make like thousands of this in one day very easily. And they don't cost that much. They are about 50,000 or something, maybe less than that. And compared to that, the artillery that the Saudi Arabia, UAE, and the neighboring countries have, that is known as the very big, powerful, the THAAD system. So for every drone that they have to kill down, they are spending millions and millions of dollars. I think we had a very similar thing happen last year when the Pakistan-India war was going on, where every drone was costing much, comparatively millions of money. So just by one drone strike, what happens is the Gulf countries, the Dubai, UAE, so on, all of them are heavily dependent on two or three main things. One is obviously the oil. Other thing is the tourism, and the last thing that they are depending on is that they have to import a lot of food, water from the other places. So because of this drone strike, what has happened is a lot of people are they are stuck in there in the Dubai, and now it will never recover because earlier there was this uh, thing where the Dubai was considered as the best place, very safe place. You can go there, nothing will ever happen. No one will steal anything from you. But now no one will visit Dubai. Maybe people might, but the illusion that it was a very safe place for investment and all, that is all basically gone because of what? Because of one, two, three drone strikes of the Iran in the Dubai hotel. Moving on, this is the basically the something which is known as the Strait of Hormuz. This is a very small point here. This is all the Dubai area. This is Iran here. And this is basically where about 25 to 30% of the world's oil supply comes from. So because of the attack here, the state is blocked basically by Iran. If anything goes, they will bomb it basically. And because of this, all of this oil supply has nowhere to go. There is another path to get out to the pipeline, but it is not that efficient and it's hardly about 10-20% something. So the upcoming weeks, what will happen is obviously the oil rise will happen, and more so the increase in the prices of pure water can happen because this places they import a lot of water from the outside people. They also import a lot of food from the outside people. Now, naturally, if you are, let's say, US or uh, Israel, who are trying to attack here, you want to get a very swift victory because the longer it goes on, the more losses the Middle East is having, and now you cannot recover from this. Obviously, you cannot even send, let's say, physical forces here. You can only send the air force because whole of the Iran geography, if you see here, is very much covered by mountains, and they have been living here for 20, 30, 40 years preparing for this war. So you America cannot send the combat troops here and expect that they will be easily put go on and on for much more months and whatnot. Even if the leadership is killed, all of the supreme leader, his family, and the generals and so on. But because these people they are very religious and so on, the fight can keep going on for many months. Back to the main part where 2039 to 32. One thing is the Jupiter is the Tichari, as I mentioned. Another thing is the Saturn will be transitioning in the Rohini Nakshatra during 30 to 32. Last time the Saturn was in the Rohini, while Jupiter is Atichari, we had the World War. And Sun is affecting the sign of Rohini, destruction of kingdoms, and so on. It is written in the Brihad Samhita, you can read it later on. And obviously, the second thing, which is the fire eclipse that are happening in the 2031 time period, the solar and the lunar. And Israel is in the Rahu Mahadasha. So, upcoming time period is not that good. It could go much worse in the upcoming time period. That's pretty much it. Any questions for this? Guessing no?